Hey everybody, and welcome to an elite wild ride with Steve-O. We've got, according to ESPN, the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, Alexander Volkanovski. What an unbelievable treat this is. And I think we're going to generate some headlines within the MMA community because we talk about some pretty controversial stuff. So strap on your seatbelts and let's get into it. All right, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Yeah, dude. Man, I love this. Thank you so much. I just went ahead and blasted you a DM on Instagram, and that's how we got through. And thank you for doing this, man.
Well, no, always thank you. It was a blowout having you on Instagram message me, and I'm like, what? Steve, I've been a big fan for a long time. So
well, thank you, man.
It was cool to see. So I appreciate you reaching out.
Likewise, dude. I love your work. And we've just had you go for double champ status. That fight happened in Perth. And the day of that fight, I was flying to Las Vegas for a random gig. And I thought maybe Dana White wouldn't be bothered to fly all the way to Perth. So I hit up Dana. Said, hey, I'm looking for a place to watch the fight in Vegas. And Dana said, come on over to my house.
Oh, wow.
So we show up at Dana White's house, me and my girl Lux. And I probably shouldn't say too much, but you pull up and there's like a guy with a gun.
Yeah?
Armed security, the whole, dude, it's like, Billionaire Boys Club over there. It was a lot of fun. And we watched your fight together against Islam.
Did you watch the prelims at Dana's?
He told us to come over about 6 p.m.
Were you like, Steve watches every fight starting at the prelims all the way to the end.
So when you go to the event, you're there early.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
we
that.
sit in the seats for 6 hours.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's great. The praise that Dana gave for your fight, he says you couldn't ask for a better fight. Joe Rogan thinks you won the fight against Islam. No matter what, like that was a great thing for you.
Yeah, for sure. It was obviously always going to be a challenge. There was a reason why I was underdog. Everyone thought I was crazy doing it.
Yeah.
I knew I could do it. I wanted the challenge because I knew not only it's a big opportunity for me, but it's only going to make me better, only going to make me stronger, and it's something that I feel like I could accomplish anyway. And we were this close, you know what I mean? We thought we did enough, but it was such a close fight. Obviously that's why there's people that thought I won, and obviously people that thought Islam won. But that's. As Dana, I heard Dana talking about it. Like that's what you want from a super fight too. People battling it out for pound number one,
right?
And it goes down to the wire. You know what I mean? Like, and the way it went, it was definitely, my stocks definitely still rose after that one.
100%.
Especially finishing the fight the way we did. You know what I mean? So
100%.
It was pretty crazy.
My favorite thing too. I should say one of my least favorite things when I'm watching MMA is people getting stung by a shot and then they're like, no, that was nothing. That was nothing,
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about watching you fight is that when you get clipped, you're like, yep, that was a good one.
Yeah,
you acknowledge it.
It's funny you mentioned that. It's something that I actually wanted to talk about, because I haven't, no one's really asked me about that. So that's how I am. I'm my hardest critic, and you could probably see that from when post-fight press conference and things like that. The way I'm talking, I'm always gonna be hard on myself. I know when I get hit, and I remember those because I don't want to get touched. You know what I mean? So you touch me, I'm like, yeah. So usually, even when they land, it's not even like it's that hurt me or anything. It's just, I seen it coming and you still got me. It's more like, well done, well played. Yeah, because I literally play this game, and I'm known for my fight IQ, and it's like it's a chess match, right? And then sometimes they just get they might get me off beat, and it just nice. So I acknowledge it. Yeah, good, you got me. Yeah, right. I'll let. So it's funny that I do that, but it's a weird one where again, you like that. A lot of people like that. For me, it's like that. But I mean, I don't know how that looks on the judges. So I'm worried. Like a lot of people, like, oh no, yeah, see, people acknowledge it. It makes it look like, oh yeah, that was a really good one. So there's ones where he's like sort of turning away, and where I'm sitting there like wouldn't be too hard of a shot. But I'm like, you still got me. Well done. You know what I mean? And then everyone remembers that. And there's ones where I felt like I was landing, but like, he would like sort of go away, and where I would think that would probably score more because he's like, me, I'm like, yeah, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with it.
It's
a tricky one.
Question.
It is a tricky one. So I might have to stop it. My coaches got angry at me about it.
Wow.
They're like going, you got to stop that shit. You know what I mean? Like, because it doesn't look good. I'm like, oh no. It's a weird one.
When you're in the middle of a fight, are you like, what's the intent there? To knock him out or to submit him, or is it all moment to moment? Or round to round? I mean, are there certain pockets that you're going for?
Man, you always want to get a finish. You're always going to want to get a finish. But, it's just, you got to fight the fights in front of you as well. You can't if you look at your elite fighters, your best fighters and things like that, they're usually going to be very defensively sound as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you got to look after yourself at the same time. While I found a decent balance where I'm still going for it. Like, you see me definitely taking a lot of risks, but still trying to take as minimal damage while I do that. Mm-hmm. So people can relate to that. People are still, excited from the fights and things like that. But it is a tricky one. But you're always looking for a finish. But at the same time, you still need to fight the right fight. You need to fight smart. You need to, it's just it's a weird one.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I had my back on there.
No worries.
You take every opportunity that you can get.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so that's when you're on top, you're going to look for the finish, but again, you want to maintain control.
Yeah.
When you're landing, you want to land. You want to, if you rock them, you want to capitalize on that. But at the same time, if I just go looking for that and only that, that's when I'm going to get caught. And you need to find a perfect balance of where you can still touch them and not really get touched.
It's so frustrating how often we see a fighter rock their opponent and then clinch up when they've got him hurt and they're just clinching up and giving him time to recover.
Yeah, exactly right. It does happen. Like sometimes it could be them landing and not knowing that they rocked them and they're just clinched because that's just second nature for them. That's just instinct for them. But then... or grab a hold of them, take advantage of them being hurt, grab a hold of them, hoping to get them down. Like, I don't know what it is. Well, with the Islam one, so I landed, so I knew it landed, and then he was good enough to know, again, four guys that have been wrestling and his whole life. Yeah. He's been fighting his whole life. So he was like still rocked, but he's still looking for a leg. It's just instinct. No matter how rocked you got him, he's going to grab a leg and still clinch, and he doesn't even have to be all there for his muscle memory to do what it needs to do.
Right.
So you could see that I rocked him, I was going to go down. He's already looking for a leg while he's just reaching out, and I've had to sprawl, and I've ended up in his guard, and then he's just grabbed the hold of me, and I had to try and find myself out of there, where it would have looked like, come on, hit him. It was like, obviously I want to hit him, but he's done a good enough job to just survive, and then I find my way out, and that's when I started raining down bombs. But he did a good enough job to not let me capitalize too much on rocking him.
Does he let you not capitalize on him because he's a little bit more well hydrated than you are during the fight?
Is that coming up? Is it?
I mean, he looks pretty hydrated. I mean, if you're not hydrated, are you still thinking that clearly, or does that?
Man, look, the thing is, we've all, you've got it down to a science. He does a big cut, and you can see it. Like, I've seen him even when he was in Abu Dhabi. And I was doing I had to be backup fighter. I remember just seeing him backstage before he walked out. He's just out of it. And you're just like, man, like what these guys do to themselves. Right. Don't get me wrong. I cut a fair bit when I get to featherweight, but I never look like that. And then the same thing, like you'll just see him coming in. He's just like that. But I mean, you still got the 24 hours or more. You got like the whole day to recover. You can still do it. But I mean, obviously, you can hydrate in many ways. But
obviously Scott's making a reference to the IV.
I didn't say anything.
What do you call it? The scandal, the drama. Yeah. Is it confirmed that there was an illegal IV situation? It seems that it's confirmed.
Well, I'm just staying right out of it. Like, this is something that I'm like, You know,
Okay.
like, yeah, so sorry about that. That's why I see it. Like,
that's
oh,
course.
they're going there,
No,
they're
that's
going.
fine. Do you know, is it true that Dan Hooker is being punished for accusing?
I saw that headline, but I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
No, I think what he means is not punished as in anything other than, like, he's trying to say, like, you know, now they're gonna, you know, they'll probably, for me saying stuff like that, they're probably gonna come after me, whether it is
The Dagestanis.
no,
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
maybe he mentioned that, but he's probably talking about, you know, all of, you know, because I'm doing stuff like that and questioning things.
Right,
Next minute,
right.
USADA's going to be testing him every morning, you know, for the next 6 weeks, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what he was trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah, like not punished as in.
Right.
Yeah, because again, I'm trying to stay right out of it. But I
Good.
mean,
We'll keep you out of it.
yeah. But I mean,
Easy.
there's stuff there.
After the fight, are you like, after all the cameras are done, are you shooting Islam a text like, hey, good fight? Do you guys ever keep in touch? You or Max, you or anybody? Are you like saying, like, giving him a call like, dude, that was crazy? Or do you kind of just, after the fight's over, work's done, and you go home?
No, you know, man, it does happen. You'll be surprised that it didn't happen with this fight. Like, you know, usually a couple of days later, or after the fight, like I went straight backstage and was like, you know, I always shake hands with them. I always go and, you know, you're still sharing a massive moment with these guys, right? Like, this is history we're making. So it's something that, you know, I'll always be, you know, I want to properly share that moment. So even afterwards, I'll be like, oh, you know, well done. You know, we put on a show for everyone, you know, again, making history. So it's something that I definitely will try and embrace their moments. But I mean, usually I will talk to them. But now there's, you know, some words are still being said here and there. So I don't know if it's going to be as friendly as some other guys.
Right. I mean, you've never had like real vitriol or, you know, particularly nasty trash talk.
Yeah.
Like, you've always been, you know, pretty like honorable and positive about your promotion.
Yeah, exactly. That's just who I am, right? And that's something I'm proud of as well. I know it is an entertainment business, but the beauty of it is we can entertain with these. You know what I mean? In the
Right.
octagon, you know. So it's. I get it, like, you know that, but I mean that everyone thinks that's the only way to promote yourself. But I mean, there's still many ways to do it.
Sure.
And I'm happy with where I've got myself. And to be myself through that whole process.
For sure.
So I'm very happy with that. I'm very proud of that.
I saw your countryman, Robert Whitaker, talking about how he feels his lack of salacious trash talk has prevented him from getting big fights. And I wonder, because it's not always necessary. That's right. Trash talk is not necessary to be successful as a fighter, but what is absolutely necessary for success in fighting, and I would argue anything else, is taking care of your health and specifically your diet by filling in the gaps with AG1 from Athletic Greens. Why? Because AG1 is the most comprehensive, convenient, nutritional supplement there is. It's loaded with 75 different vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, and it is absolutely delicious. I'm telling you, you start off your day with a pint of water to hydrate yourself, and in that pint of water you put a scoop or a packet of AG1 from Athletic Greens, and the gaps in your diet are filled for the day. Your gut health is improved, your cognitive ability is improved, and did I mention it is absolutely delicious? Telling you, this is the best, healthiest stuff for you. And if you go to athleticgreens.com/Stevo, they will throw in 5 completely free, convenient, comprehensive travel packs of AG1, plus an entire year's supply of immune-boosting vitamin D with your first purchase. That is, if you go to athleticgreens.com/Stevo. Jump on that deal right now and be successful in your life. Now, let's get back to it.
Yeah, well, like, you're right. You know, it definitely can. Like, you see it all the time. You see guys get a couple of knockouts. Obviously, you need the knockouts, but that trash talk as well, it can
Sure.
The hype can go up real quick, and
Big
it can
time.
fast track you to things, and that's legit. And like that's no lie. We see it happen all the time, and
Paddy
you
the
get a
Baddy,
lot of
Sean
good-
O'Malley.
Yeah, you get a lot of good opportunities from it. You know what I mean? And the money's going to be good, and all that's going to fast track you. But at the same time, some people are just that's who they are anyway, so it works
Right.
well. And then you get guys that are going to be just put
Yeah.
on a show and all that. And you can see some of them. And again, his name's always going to come up. I've said some things, but I mean, I don't want to have a bad blood with the guy. But you see, like someone like Colby Covington,
Sure.
who he knows he plays that sort of role. He's like,
Well-
I'm going to play it. You know what I mean? Which is, it's weird. It's a weird sort of thing to do. So for me, I just couldn't do that.
He was on his way out of the UFC because his fights were deemed so boring with all the wrestling, or the style of wrestling, I should say. And his trash talk saved his career. So power to him.
So there you go. So
Yeah.
and then you look. So as much as people want to hate it, and here I am saying that, like I couldn't do it, but you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't think that benefited him. It put him
For
in a
sure.
much better position.
I
can say what I want. People can say whatever they want. At the end of the day, he's raking up probably a lot more money than he would have if he didn't do it.
Big time.
And at the end of the day, even if he isn't that type of guy, the people who he cares about or care about him know exactly who he is. If everyone else thinks he's a piece of shit or whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
My family know what I'm all about, so
Right.
you can't hate on that. So, and that's why I've always sometimes I get it. It's just not me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Not only do I not hate on it, I've been very candid to say that I am so invested that I enjoy disliking Colby Covington so much that I'm more excited for his fights than anybody.
Yeah.
And I just can't stand the guy.
Oh well, yeah, man. It's
But
But of
and
the
that's
people,
a marketing.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's like a marketing sort of tool. Like you hear it a lot of the
Right.
time where people will pay to watch him lose.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? That bad blood that happens, like, oh no, is this guy going to, get him? And like we've had guys, even Mayweather, Mayweather still,
Right.
people are still waiting to see him
Sure.
to fall, you know what I mean? But it's probably not going to happen with someone like Mayweather. But like a lot of people made a career off that. And like even in Australia,
Yeah.
we've had guys that literally I've been told, very nice guys. Anthony Mundine, but he would play the villain, and he would make probably one of the most amounts of money in Australian boxing because that's people
Right.
wanted to watch that. And
For
so
sure.
again, you got to understand that
it's entertainment.
it is, yeah.
So with the Islam fight, up to that point, the rule was that if you beat somebody who's ranked higher than you, then you take their spot. Like pound for pound, especially. And then Islam beat you, but you kept the number one pound for pound spot.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't think there's a person in the world that disagrees with that.
Yeah.
You weren't fighting in your weight class. You came up, fought a
Exactly.
bigger guy, so you kept number one pound for pound.
Can you
I think-
explain what pound for pound
Okay,
is?
so there, let's get into that. So when you say in pound for pound, you take someone majority of the time you will take it, but at the end of the day, that's always going to be different to an actual like a ranking, like a featherweight ranking, right? If a featherweight ranking, you beat someone, you take their spot. You just beat the guy. That makes sense. With pound for pound, that has a lot more than just your ranking in that division. So it's gonna come down to skill, pound for pound. Like we understand that. So if we were all the same size,
Yeah.
with the same skill, so everything was even playing field except for the skill. Like you had your skill and whatever it was, but we're all the same size. Like who would sort of win? So say imagine me in a heavyweight's body with the heavyweight strength and all that type of stuff. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Right.
Like so that what would I do to these heavyweights?
Right.
That's how people would look at it. Type thing. So it's a weird one. It's obviously that's why a lot of people just can't stand the pound for pound rankings. But everyone loves talking about it. It's a big deal. And I'll be honest with you. Being a champion was great. Being pound for pound number one, which John Jones just took that from me.
Oh, he did? I didn't Google
But I
it,
don't think
but
I don't think with all of them. But I mean, I think with the UFC, yes.
I actually, I was dying to know that, and I resisted that. I wanted to find out with you.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm glad John Jones won. I'm impressed by his victory, but I just don't think we saw enough in that fight to go ahead and call him pound for pound number one.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it's going to have to do with, he actually said it really well, where it goes by what you've done lately as well, right? It's going to go with that, you might have done a whole heap 4 years ago, but that's got nothing to do with now. You are not pound for pound. We don't know what you're doing right now. So that's always still going to come into play though. Again, you're right. It was just that one, but what he did, moving up, at least he moved up and showed that the pound for pound comes into play. The body of work that we've done in the last 3 years, obviously a lot of people are going to be like, look what Alex has done in the last 3 years, and you can get that. But at the same time, look at what John Jones has done as well. So can I really argue that when you look at, he's going to be one of the greatest of all times. So for him to take that, it's like, damn it. You know what I mean? What do you do?
What do you think about his fight? I mean, were you just like, what the fuck?
I expected him to, I thought he should wrestle. I thought if he was to grab a hold of him, I think he's going to do really well if he uses all his tools. I think the biggest problem for him would be with these heavyweights landing on him. But when it comes to wrestling, I think he's going to outdo all the heavyweights, even your Stipe's. I think because John Jones' wrestling is incredible. And that's people are really. I don't think it's underestimated. I think people know. But I mean, look at even DC. He was taking DC down. You know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy to see what he's capable of. But I didn't expect him to be so aggressive with the wrestling. That surprised me. So because we chatted to him in the lead up to that fight, and he was. Saying that he's seen holes in the stand-up, and I'm like, is he really going to try and exploit that, or is he going to do what he should do and go there? But it was always,
he just got right in there and closed.
As soon as he found that right time to clinch, and even when he went down and shot, he made sure he was sticking. He's like, I ain't giving this guy a chance, which I thought was very clever. And if I knew that he was going to be in them positions, I would have expected a finish. I just didn't think he would be that aggressive to look for a finisher, to look for the control. I thought he might play, try and clinch, grab a hold, and then look for a trip, or work him on the cage and maybe look for a takedown from there. It was still a little bit different to what I expected, just purely because I didn't expect him to be so aggressive with wrestling.
Right, and on second thought, when I say I don't think we saw enough to give him pound for pound number one, that is kind of like me saying we should punish him for making it look so easy. So maybe he does deserve it. Yeah. But I
appreciate that. I appreciate that you're not too happy about that. So I'm gonna take that. Now I actually, as I said, I talked to John Jones. We talked to him on UFC Fight Week with Robert Whittaker. We're having a chat to him, and that question come up where they asked him, they're like, if you win, do you think you're number one pound for pound? I was sitting right there. And he goes, look, it goes by. And that's when he touched on me being active and what I've done. Right. Look what I've done, that my body of work. So right now he's like, because I'm not chasing pound for pound. I'm chasing the greatest of all time and things like that. Obviously, that's what I'm chasing. But look at the body of work he's done, because he's been fighting. I've still got a couple more years to do that. So I'm going to keep pushing for that. But right now, pound for pound was where I was at, which is a great accomplishment, and I still look to get that back anyway. So it motivates me to be like, all right, I want to get back in there. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Gio Rodriguez in July, bang, and then do that rematch with Islam, and and then obviously, like I said, 2023 is going to be a massive year for me. So even though the start of the year wasn't exactly how we wanted it, again, we talked about the stock still rising. It's making a bigger rematch. Everyone still wants to see that. And then getting another title fight, and then getting the lightweight title later in the year. What a way to end a massive year. So that's my plans for this year.
Did they already have a line for your fight against Yair Rodriguez?
A line?
Yeah, the betting odds.
I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. Well, it's not locked in. We haven't even. We haven't locked that in at all.
I gotta believe that you're just a humongous favorite in that.
Well, yeah. Again. You know what? Without me, is he still dangerous? You know what I mean? 100%. He's still a very, very dangerous opponent, and that's the thing with me. I can go into this fight. I don't care how big of a favorite I am. I'm never going to go underprepared. Yeah, I think you're going to get a lot of people that might get to them. They might think they might pull back. It's just not who I am. I'm going to give it all. I'm going to see the risks. I'm going to see the dangers, and I'm going to prepare to make sure he don't get me with these dangers, make sure that don't happen. And not just that, I'm going to prepare for the worst, just in case he gets me to deep waters. Do I think he can get me to deep waters? I think he can definitely hurt me. The chance of him getting me into deep waters and getting me tired and really dominating me and making me really go through adversity through the whole fight, I don't think that's, without being disrespectful, I don't think that's a way. But I'm going to prepare for that anyway. That's just how I
Yeah,
prepare.
I mean, look at the co-main when she was plus 1,000. To,
oh my God!
Tell them the story because this is fascinating.
The greatest thing I've asked a ton of people in the UFC world 2 questions. Number one, what do you think of the inspection zone where they're putting the Vaseline, they're checking your cup? If in the inspection zone you were standing on a scale, so that everybody could know how much weight has come back on since the official weigh-in. I think it would just be really interesting personally if you knew how much the fighter weighed as they stepped into the octagon for the fight.
That'd be. I think that'd be. Yeah, a lot of people would be interested in knowing that. But we actually do get weighed.
Right.
So we go there. I don't know if they actually.
They don't make that public. But,
they don't. I know they've. I swear they've done it before. I remember
they have done it before.
Yeah, because I remember Fight Island. I went there and they did that, and I remember being extra heavy because it was a big weight cut because it was short notice and things like that. And I remember being heavy. Like I ended up getting to 77. So weighing at, what's that? That's 170. So it was 145.
Yeah.
And I ended up weighing 170. And I was like, and you could see it.
In
like
one day.
I looked very, very, I was
24
probably
hours.
more because at Fight Island, they give you so much time. But then after that one, it made me realize I don't want to be that heavy. So I've actually made sure I was well under that. So when I fight at featherweight, I'm always making sure I sit around, I couldn't tell you in pounds what it is, but yeah, I usually make sure I'm around 74 kilograms, which I could get to 77. I could get to 76, but I don't like that. So I always make sure I'm there because that's where I move best, that's where I'm sharpest, and I'm just as strong.
What are you now?
What am I now? I reckon
talk about it?
Yeah, I reckon I'll be 170. 170 now,
cool.
I reckon. So when 170.
Right. The problem with the, disclosing a fighter's weight at the time of the actual fight, I understand to be that it draws too much attention to weight cutting. Weight cutting's a little bit controversial, and
They
don't want to draw too much attention to that. But they do know the fighters' weights. And then my second question was, I don't think anybody wants to see open scoring. When you know what the judges' scorecards read at the end of each round. But what I love is to get the live odds as the fight progresses. And when we were at Dana White's house, I said, what do you think about the beginning of every round 2, every round 3, every subsequent round started with the live odds. And Dana pulls out his phone. He sends a voice message, say, "Hey, Steve-O's got a request. He wants the live odds." So literally for the rest of that card, it came on. And so we saw the live odds for every round with you and Islam.
Well, it's funny you say because I remember seeing them because I was going to go. I'm pretty sure they did that. And you're like, because of you.
It's because me. Yeah.
So there you go.
And Dana said, Steve-O, you're not wrong. I like that. And he called it Steve-O's odds.
Steve-O's odds. There you go.
But then since then. They haven't been doing it all the time.
Oh, okay. So they didn't do it. They didn't do it last event.
But you did shoot him a text.
I shot Dana a text during the
Shevchenko.
Valentina Alexa Grasso fight, right at the beginning, because it was Valentina started minus 850 favorite, and Alexa Grasso looked pretty good. So I texted Dana, live odds, please. And boom, round number 2, we got the live odds.
Yeah.
And where I thought Alexa Grasso had looked good, on the second round, Valentina went minus 1,000 favorite.
Okay,
so the Valentina became an even bigger favorite. And I understood at that point why maybe they wouldn't want to, if the discrepancy is going to get bigger and bigger, then the fight potentially becomes less interesting. So maybe they don't want to always give the live odds, but thank God they did in that case, because the odds got the gap got even bigger, and as a minus 1,000 favorite, Valentina got fucking submitted.
Yeah,
so
man,
that was that big. In that
so
instance,
I know,
great.
in that was like, oh, yeah, nah, it's not going to happen. What? It ends up being a blowout. Yeah,
That minus 1,000, I think, added a lot of entertainment value.
Yeah,
to
good
that
timing.
fight.
See, Steve-O's odds
Steve-O
just
odds.
coming all at the right time. See.
Who doesn't love to know the odds? And even better, who doesn't love to increase their own odds of success in their personal and business life? That's right, and I've got the way to do it. It's called ShipStation. This is for anybody who has an e-commerce operation, whether they're selling merchandise to fans on Amazon or Etsy or their own website. Doesn't matter. If you're not selling merch and goods to your fans online, then you are blowing it. And if you are, then you got to be using ShipStation, because it is one easily integrated interface which combines every outlet of selling with every outlet of shipping. You got the United States Post Office, you got UPS, you got your FedEx. It's all boiled into one easy-to-use interface, and they reserve the best shipping rates, which are normally only for Fortune 500 companies. I'm telling you, this is the secret to my online e-commerce success, because every order comes just printed out with a label which gets slapped on the box, and into the box might go a Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville skateboard. I mean, that's how it works. It's easy. And if you go to ShipStation.com and use the promo code Steve-O, then you're going to get an entire 2 months of hassle-free free ShipStation service. I'm telling you, you cannot pass this up. It's an absolute guaranteed satisfaction situation. So go to ShipStation.com and use the promo code Steve-O and make ship happen. Yeah, dude. Now let's get back to it.
But it's with the open scoring, I think you hit the nail on the head too. Like, right, it's that adds to it, right? People wanting to know what's going on,
right,
with a decision. So, like, people, like, everyone's on their seat, like, what happened?
It takes away
You
the
know what I mean?
suspense.
Yeah.
And when a fighter knows they're up 2 rounds in a 3-round fight, they're gonna coast and make it boring.
Yeah, so they're going to do. I guess you're going to get the other guy who knows they're behind. So I need to go for the finish.
Right.
So they might do that, but at the same time, you're right. They're going to try and play it safe. Everyone knows it ruins the suspense. So
but doesn't it shed light on the fact that, like, some of these judges are like how if you're focusing on open scoring, then that would mean that you would know who, like, the casuals don't know who the refs are or who the judges are. So wouldn't it bring more to light, like, some of these people that are just so fucking completely wrong about some of their scoring?
I mean, that would be the case after the fight. You know, the judges' scorecards are made public every time. You're going to know which judge was out of their mind.
Some of them definitely get called out on it. You see it a few times.
Yeah, but
I don't really know their names, but after some, it's like, oh, this idiot again did this scorer. Like, you're like, oh, there you go. So they do get. I mean, it is a tough job. Like, I mean, a lot of it's, we're obviously going to be easy to criticize, but I mean, it must be a tough job. Even the ref and all that, like, while it's all happening, you got the crowd going nuts and all that, all of it. And then the scoring criteria, sort of changes here and there. And then, it's weird because they say damage first and significant strikes, and then you got to weigh in control time while that's happening when they tell you not. It's just
because Islam had you down, but you were punching him the whole time. So, like, who wins that?
So that's a tricky one. So for me, and I'm going to be real with it. Like, for me, he was in a controlled position, so I'm going to always give that to the person controlling. I think it could be up to the ref. Maybe there's new rules where if these guys are looking at just like if they are stalling, maybe the ref needs to do something. I don't care how dominant the position is. If you are just trying to survive and hang on, and it's clear, like, you're not trying to go for punches, you're not trying to go for submissions, you were just trying to wait the round out. Obviously, the crowd don't want to see that.
Right.
And at the end of the day, is that really winning? It's like you've secured a position, good on you. Yeah, so that's why that's going to be worth something. But if you are not trying to improve your position or do something, the ref's going to have to be like, come on, let's at least do something. You're in a dominant position, at least try and capitalize. If not, I'm going to stand you up. So I look at that as more of something that the ref could do rather than the judges scoring it. So for me, even though I was doing more, at the end of the day, I was in a position where, obviously I wanted to get out of that. I was in a position, so.
I don't think that
it's weird.
That didn't win Islam the fight. What won him the fight was his striking.
Yeah, well, mate, like he's definitely surprised me with his striking.
It's like Ngannou surprised us with his wrestling against Gon, and then Islam surprised us with his striking against you.
So I knew he's got a good eye. I knew going in there he had a good eye. I knew he's patient, which it's a tricky one for me. If I wanted to, I had to make a lot of the first moves. I had to do initiate most of what was happening because he's very patient. He even says that Javier always says it's like be the Matador. That's something that you always hear them talking about is be the Matador, as in
react.
Yeah, or so bring them to you, and then wait for them, and then so let them come crazy at you, and then find the times to counter or shoot, which is good. But at the same time, if I'm aware of that. Do I sit back and just try and pick shots and be safe and then we don't give the fans a fight they want? I could still lose. So it was a tricky one for me. So I knew he was waiting and being patient and waiting to counter me and shoot, but it was a situation where I could try and deal with that a different way, but there's still a good chance of me losing. I won't be able to tire him out. I won't be able to put the pressure on him and if I fight a different fight. So for me, that's surprising how patient he was, and I expect him to, in them times, to probably try and shoot more, not throw counters as much. So again, credit to him for having the eye. Again, like as I said, I always knew he had a good eye, but he still surprised me with some of that. I thought the shots, the timing was going to be better with the shots, not the strikes, which was cool. So obviously towards the end, I started getting reads, and I wish I could do that fight again right now because I could do stuff. But I mean, that's the game.
You said damage, and then that reminded me of the Darren Elkins fight. Darren the Damage Elkins. And what was your injury when you fought?
So I tore my intercostal muscle. So it's like so it's pretty much, you break a rib or you tear your rib cartilage, or tear your muscle. It's like pretty much all the same sort of symptoms. Like you can't move. Like I'll put it this way. I did that I think 2 days before the fight. So you literally cannot move. Like tore, when I say tore, it's a proper tear.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a small tear. It was a ripped muscle right there. So it was so painful. I couldn't believe it. I remember sitting there that day when it happened. We had people in the room. It was the fighters' warm-up area. And we had other fighters there, and I didn't want anyone knowing. So I'm trying to get to the side, crawl over there, and try and be quiet. And then they're like, "Oh, my coaches are like, oh, if you can still breathe, it's not hurting, you'll be all right." I'm like, "Don't worry, it's fucking hurting." You know what I mean? I didn't want to say it loud or go, "It is, just relax." This isn't good. So I end up going back. We end up getting the UFC doctor to have a chat. And he's like, "Yeah, you've torn that intercostal muscle, And I've asked, what do people fight? He goes, "Yeah, some people will fight, some people will pull out, but we've never had a fighter have it this close to a fight." So that's what he said to me. Because usually 2-3 weeks out, people are either pulling out from the fight or maybe they take it on. But he goes, "We haven't had someone do it probably this close." And I'm like, "Oh," because he said that, he goes, "Yeah, we have and we haven't." I'm like, "Oh, that's good, but we haven't had anyone this close." I was like, "Fuck." So I'm like, "Oh, well, I need to fight," because this was back when I needed the money, and I had a big camp, and I was like, I had no option. I had to fight. He goes, "I can get you on these anti-inflammatories, which we're allowed to take. They're strong ones. And by the time you fight, we can maybe half the pain." At the time, I'm like, half the pain is not enough. I couldn't warm up. I couldn't even do anything for the next couple of days. I remember warming up fight day, warming up backstage before the fight. I couldn't even throw my right hand yet. So I could only throw a jab. So I could throw my jab because I could keep this here, but I could not twist my body yet. And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to have to wait till adrenaline kicks in, and then I can start to use that. So it was definitely a crazy process. Another funny story with that, with these anti-inflammatories, they were really strong anti-inflammatories. my coach and manager end up getting them because the UFC doctor said, yeah, get this one, you're allowed to take it, it's all good, and they're strong and that should help. I'm like, okay, sweet. So they went and got it, and then I was like taking them, and the amount I'm taking's a fair bit because we had to try and do the best we can. And I remember I was just like groggy, passing out, falling asleep all day. I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm saying that to them, are you sure these aren't like nighttime ones or something like that? And they're like, nah, it's not. And then we end up finding out they gave me the nighttime ones, which they make you really drowsy and all that. And again, I'm like pretty much overdosing on these things. That's how much I had to take. And I was just on the nod all day, like the whole time. And then, oh mate, it was the worst. I'm like, something's not right. So then they end up getting me the right ones. It was a bit better, but that was stronger. And you could just get them over the counter in America. So like over here, you need a prescription for everything. But over there, I don't know if it's changed, but like literally you could just go and get like really strong stuff.
NyQuil.
Like, yeah, just go in there and just get them off the bench, you know?
It's when you were telling the story about, getting injured before the fight, like I started thinking, ooh, man, like as a fan, it was so disappointing when TJ Dillashaw fought and he had not disclosed to the UFC that he had that issue with his shoulder. And it really, it comforted me, it made me just respect a lot that you went straight to tell the UFC that you had that concern.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to know I was always going to fight, but I was like, what's the best option for me? Am I allowed to get cortisone shot and things like that? I wanted to know the process. If I have a cortisone shot, that can help. But they're like, oh, you could do that, but the commission's probably going to pull you from the fight. Right. So we can't do the cortisone shot, but we can do this and then you can fight. It's like, oh, well, I've got no option, so I'm just doing that. So it was, man, like that's just the game, especially... now if you're risking losing the belt and you don't feel like you can perform 100%, do you pull out? You go into every fight, you're going to go injured and things like that. But I mean, you would know, like, you can get through, some things suck, but I mean, you can get through it sometimes.
Yeah. That was your worst injury going into a fight?
Worst, I would say so, pain wise. Because like I said, I still couldn't even breathe properly. I couldn't get a big, like that would like kill me. Like I was getting in and out of bed, like I literally would have to game plan to get out of the bed. Like I couldn't, because I was waterlogged, I had to get out of bed. And I was like, I remember sitting there like trying to get out of bed, and then I'd end up crying because I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to fight. This was before I seen the doctor, and I was crying. I couldn't even cry because it was hurting me too much. So you know what I mean? Yeah. That's just that much pain. I was like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? So anxiety through the roof, but we got it done.
You brought up, sorry, were you going to ask something?
I just wanted to ask about that Brian Ortega submission. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen, I think. Like, how did you not tap? Alexander Volkanovski's will to go on is unbelievable. My will to go on sometimes could use a little bit of help. And that is why I proudly use Blue Chew tablets. Why? Because they have the same active ingredient as both Viagra and Cialis, except they only cost a fraction of the price. And get this, the listeners of the Wild Ride podcast have the opportunity to get an entire month's supply of Blue Chew tablets, which I might say are now more delicious than ever. It's like eating candy. It's great. And you can get this entire month's supply of Blue Chew tablets completely for free. Only pay $5 for shipping if you go to BlueChew.com and use the promo code STEVO. Even better is that when you're at BlueChew.com, you can very easily, conveniently consult with their online medical provider to take care of the prescription, and boom, that entire month's supply of Blue Chew tablets is on the way, and all you pay is $5 for shipping. And if you're wondering, are Blue Chew tablets a lot of fun? Let me assure you, they're a ton of fun, man. They give me that will to go on, and that is a valuable thing. So BlueChew.com with the promo code STEVO, jump on it and have fun. Let's get back to it.
Well, tapping was, I guess tapping was never an option. But then you go, how didn't you go to sleep at the same time? Because it was deep. It was really deep. And I've talked about it a fair bit, and I always mention the dimming of the lights. So it was getting close enough where like everything was starting to go black, and I was like, oh no, like, you know, like just keep going. But there was never in my mind ever, not even a thought where I was like, I might have to tap. It was like, oh no, this ain't good. Like keep pushing on the hip. Like I was just, what do I do? And like, oh no, this isn't good. But yeah, it was never an option to tap. It was always like, keep doing what you're doing or go or die. You know what I mean? Like that was my two options. Like you go to sleep and maybe not die, or get out. You know what I mean? And I just kept doing what I did, even though. So there's a lot of, like when you talk about the mental side of that sort of a situation, I got into that submission. I'm like, oh, how do I get here? And then it's there, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this, doing what I thought was right, and it was right. But he applied it so good, and that's his move, that it was still not working. So I did everything you should do and could do in that situation, and it still wasn't enough, and I was still going out. Then I had to tell myself, well, I'm just going to keep going. Hopefully he gasses before I go to sleep, or you know what I mean? Like that's my only two options, because tapping was never an option. So I kept going, and then I felt him... the grip sort of released that little bit, and I started getting his hips that little bit higher and higher, and then the lights started coming back. And instantly, even in that moment where I still can't breathe, obviously the blood and oxygen must be coming to the brain because the lights are coming back, and I haven't went to sleep yet. But even in that moment where I'm still obviously hurting and struggling to breathe, but I felt weakness. That's me. He's gassed. Yeah, I'm already like getting out of there, just lights are coming. He's gassing. Get on top and fix him up. You know what I mean? Like that was my mindset in that moment while I was still like struggling to breathe. So I've like tried to scramble up, and then as soon as I got up, I've just went nuts. And then put myself in another big submission. Obviously, his other go-to move in the triangle. So it was a crazy sequence. But you're right, man. Like, that was a massive moment, and one that probably will be talked about forever.
It was the most savage moment. What did you have?
I was going to ask about like adrenaline dumps during a fight. How do you prepare for that, or what does that look like, or does it happen at the same time every fight? Does it sometimes happen after the fights? I mean, because it's a lot of buildup for the main event. I mean, and then
have you guys asked other athletes or other fighters about this?
No.
I think you might be asking the wrong person, because I feel like I don't get that.
Okay.
And that's why, but I mean...
Because I was listening to DC Talk, and he was talking about the John Jones fight, and he was like, there's a lot of things you don't take into consideration, and that's the adrenaline dump of a main event. And I was thinking about that, and I just said, I never thought about that. Like, your body must just kind of like gas out during a fight. Like, what is that? I just don't even know what that looks like.
So for me... This is where I feel like this separates me from a lot of the people when it comes to nerves and things like that. I don't really get like that. I don't get nervous. I'm very calm. I'm very composed. I don't get, even when I try and build myself up usually just so I can get that energy I need to go in there. You've seen me do that in the last few fights where I work the crowd, and you see me being a little cheeky in the octagon. That's just to hype myself up. Because I've always went into fights, all right, crowds and that, all right, keep yourself, calm down. I did that, and I got myself way too calm. So now I'm like, I need the energy. Yeah, it's weird. I'm different.
What's your heart rate then at that point, you think?
I would love to see my heart rate. Obviously, it's not going to be, because I can get down to like, even when I'm really fit, like down to like 35s and stuff like that. Like, like resting. So I can get really, really low. But in that moment, obviously, it's never going to be that low. But I'd love to see what most people are to me, because I'm pretty chill in there, man. I really am. And that's why I feel like I am different in that sense. So that's when you ask about the nerves and adrenaline dump. I'd love to know what other people's thoughts are, for them to really break it down so I can see how I'm different. Because I don't get any of that. I really don't.
Even like walking out and your song's playing, you're not nervous?
I'm not nervous. I'm thinking of each step. All right, what do I do now? Oh, yeah, work the crowd. Oh, yeah, give this guy a handshake. I'm just going there. And then even when I'm in there, like Islam's across there, I'm sitting there and like, all right, he's going to look for this. And I'm like talking to myself, we've got to watch out for this. Telling myself, like, because sometimes you're going to have maybe doubts in your head, but I won't get nervous or anything. I might have not doubts. So you're going to have these voices in your head like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? But when it comes fight time, I'm in there. It's like, oh, no, fuck that. I'm going to get this. I'm going to do that. You know, and I have them conversations in my head where I'm just like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. Fire yourself up. Talk to your corner. It's weird. I just feel like I'm different to most people in that situation.
Is that just in the UFC, or like were you nervous when you proposed to your wife, or were you nervous like before, you know?
I get more nervous watching teammates. A lot of people say this as well, though. I get more nervous watching teammates fight and when I'm cornering and stuff like that because I'm not in control and I'm not trying to be in control. So that's a lot harder for me. But yeah, I could be fighting for champ against a guy who's a red hot favorite. You know, never had a chance, you know, obviously my last fight, and still just be as chill as I am talking to you guys right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just had this thought, you know, you said that your stock rose after that. That's 100% right. I think Islam's stock declined after that. You know, you got Ariel Helwani, you know, I think I saw Ariel saying Islam is not Khabib 2.0. And I couldn't help but wonder just now if Islam's stock fell so much that has something to do with Khabib now stepping away from coaching.
So, well, like, it's such a... That's
a harsh thing. Maybe that's a harsh thing.
It is. It's a fight game as well, right? So he was expected to win and all, you know, and I always was going out there, and what happened, like I was planning on doing even better than what happened. You got to remember that. A lot of people didn't expect that, but obviously that's what I'm doing, and people don't know me, and I think I'm starting to prove that I'm different to people as well. You know, I mean, you know, when it comes to adversity, that never die attitude, like the mindset, preparation, all that, like, you know, you see the work that I've done, and I'm the proof is in the pudding, right? And so you are right, because they're looking at that as like, oh, the featherweight did this to him and there's no way he's doing that. But don't be surprised if he goes back and has a fight in lightweight and just walk straight through them.
Sure.
And then people are going to be like, they could probably just say, oh, he just had off night or all that. They're probably never going to, even though people are still giving me a lot of credit for what happened, but which I'm glad, because I believe that's what it was. I don't think it was anything else but me preparing properly and the fighter I am. And I tried telling people before the fight that this is why it's going to be a tough fight for Islam. Trust me, like, you know what I mean? It's because I'm the guy. I'm that type of guy that can go and be put in this position and take it. You know, and I tried telling people that, and obviously a lot of people didn't believe me, but yeah, so it's a tricky one. A lot of people are going to be harder on him in that situation, right, because everyone's like that Dagestani wrestling, you know, and all that. And I'm trying to go, yeah, if you prepare properly, like I know what he does well. I'm preparing for that. I've got the right style to deal with that, and I'm going to show you. But a lot of people didn't believe it. So then you got some people like, wow, you know, he was right. And then you got other people like going, Islam isn't Khabib. He's no way he's 2.0. You know what I mean? Like, so it's harsh.
That's the dynamic. There's a little bit of a win-win for you and a lose-lose for him.
Exactly. That's why I was always going to be. For him, you know, he could have gone there and, you know, say if he did just mop the floor with me.
Right.
He definitely gets that pound-for-pound number one spot. He probably expected it to be an easy fight, so he didn't look at it as much risk at all. But I mean, I'm talking about, he doesn't realize how much of risk this is, because I'm the smaller guy, and I'm telling you, I'm going to give you a fight.
It felt like it was Khabib's idea. Right? Like,
did he force him into it? Like,
yeah, it felt like it was Khabib's idea. He says, I want you to be the champion, and then go straight to take the number one spot. And maybe he didn't get the number one spot, and Khabib was just like,
man, you gotta feel for him. But I mean, when it comes to pound for pound, I get it. I just didn't think they would do it how it's pretty much meant to. That's how, like, you know, that they literally, that's probably the only time I've ever seen them really prove what pound for pound is all about by doing that. So you went into a fight, the smaller guy, you know, the much smaller guy, you know, from a smaller division, went up supposedly a really bad matchup, stylistically and all that type of stuff, and then some people say you won, or whatever it is. Let's just say it was even, or you just, or however you look at it. Can you really say that guy is a better fighter?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's a tricky one. That's where I really thought that they actually showed that they do at least look into it a little bit. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't expect them to do that. Like, you know, which surprised me, to be honest.
You fought at welterweight. MMA, like you started at welterweight.
I fought at middleweight.
Middleweight. So you started at middleweight.
So what's that, 185?
Yeah.
185, yeah.
Then you fought welterweight.
Yep.
As an amateur, you accumulated under 4 minutes of fight time before becoming pro.
Yeah. So that's then they were all middleweight fights as well. So that was middleweight fights, and I ended them all. Like one was 6 seconds.
6 seconds.
One was I think two of them were
30 seconds.
like 30 seconds, and then maybe a 2 minute something. Like
Yeah.
So it was So like I went pro with less than a round's experience. So but I mean, so it's pretty cool when you look at it that way. But
Dude, it's epic.
What made you want to fight amateur? Like, how'd you know you wanted to fight? Why did you fight?
I've just always loved. I think it's.
Didn't it start out as like you just wanted to get fitter for rugby?
That's when I started doing it. I've always loved martial arts, and I've always. I wouldn't say I've always loved fighting. It's not like I'm proud of it. I've obviously had your street fights and whatnot. It's not something I'm proud of. It's not something I want to really talk about. But I've always been known to be able to throw them. And it's all my family ever talk about. My uncles and my dad and all that. Like, they would just talk about, because, Macedonian Greek and, warrior blood and all that. And that's all they ever talked about. So it was something that was always, I grew up wanting to be a part of really anyway. It's funny, actually. I've got another story. Which Jackass movie? It might have been the first Jackass movie. So we're over here at the movies theatre just over here in Shell Harbour, and we just watched Jackass, and then straight after that, there was just a heap of people outside, and then we all end up getting into a crazy brawl. So it's again not something I'm proud of, but it's just funny that we literally just watched Jackass. We didn't fight because of that. It was just I'm not trying to say it's like hyped us all up. It just was a heated moment, being young and silly, and this area, getting involved with another area, and then it just ended up being all in. I remember having it, we threw a few, and then I remember so it was a crazy brawl, but that's where it was. And I remember a security guard that was there. This was before I did any training and all that. And he pulled me, grabbed me, and then after it all calmed down, he goes, "Have you ever thought of taking up some fighting?" And he's telling me, he's like, "You should probably do some boxing." So I guess I've always been known to be able to throw. But there's a little funny story. One crazy brawl we did. Again, I'm not proud of that. But it's it was after watching a Jackass movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
We bumped into somebody you went to school with. What were the
Liz,
this girl Liz, and she described a time that you were
please don't tell me it's another fight or something. But now I'm just going to look like some troublemaker.
No.
She said you're the biggest sweetheart she's ever met.
Yeah. See.
She said you were a sweetheart. She described being at a house party, and you were just the chillest guy, and there was like one guy or a couple guys really acting up at the party, being very disrespectful. And she said that you were cool as a cucumber, and you said, "Hey, if you keep this up, I'm gonna take care of you." And the guy kept it up, and you took care of him, and that was that.
Yeah, well, man, when you're young,
it sounded like you got into that fight for the right reasons and did it the right way.
Well, man, because I've always looked older as well. So I've always been. So I was this size, right? So right now I'm small, but I literally stopped growing when I was 12. So when I was 12, I was quite big, right? So I just stopped growing. I had the beard and everything. So trouble would easily find me. I would always try and I've always been stop it. Mates sometimes cause a bit of trouble. I'll try and stop it, guys. Let's not get involved with it. But being young, silly, and obviously being in an area where there was a lot of fights happening and stuff like that, it would happen. But I mean, you could talk to a lot of my friends, even though I did get into a few biffs when I was younger. I was never the one that just would instigate it.
Right.
I just obviously stood my ground and didn't take any shit. And sometimes, one thing I hated is bullies.
Yeah.
If I seen someone going around and bullying people, and I want to stay out of it, but I mean, if they take something too far, I'm going to have to step in. And, I'm not telling people to do that, don't do that. But I just cannot stand bullies. If there's a bully around me and they're doing something like that, I'm fighting myself as I like deal with this person. Like I can't stand it. I hate it. You know what I mean? But again, at the same time, you can't just go around bashing every bully you see. You know, but I just hate that type of stuff.
Sure. As a rugby player, I mean, it's well known that you are over 200 pounds playing rugby, just visibly chunkier. I'm curious what your endurance was as a rugby player. I mean, rugby, you're running around so much, like having all that weight, and frankly, being like kind of fat. Did your cardio like have a problem?
So that's why I always said, like, it's definitely something that maybe that mentality that I had even at a young age and the way I grew up made me that guy that's, you know, what you see now in the octagon, right? So even though I was heavier, but I was always known for playing the 80 minutes, playing the whole game, which not many front rowers did, because I was playing the position where the biggest players would play. And obviously I was a lot heavier, even though I was half the size of everyone.
Yeah, like 5'6".
Yeah, exactly. Just but I was known for taking like, you know, 3 hit-ups, like majority of the sets. I was known for just doing a lot of work and just being a little workhorse. So I was known for I guess, like being a little workhorse. So even back then, even though I was heavy, obviously I wouldn't be as fit as I was now. Getting up and down from defending would tire me a little bit more, trying to get back and forth and getting off the ground and up the ground. Like I'd feel it more defending, but I could just run all day. And I was known for that. I used to play 18s, under 18s. I'd play reserve grade and then play first grade because back when I was playing football, like I just helped the club out. I would end up playing all 3 games and I'll play 80 minutes of under 18s, play majority of the reserve grade and then play a heap of the first grade as well. So and that was all back to back. So you could imagine the minutes, and I'll do that every week. So I guess when I look back and talk about it and explain that to you guys, it's always been there. It's always been there. So it's something that, I don't know, whether it was just me and my brother bashing each other and wrestling as kids and whatever it was, I don't know. But it was always something that was always in me. And then luckily I found the right path and I've, done well with it.
You said I would always do 2-3 hit-ups before every set. We're from America. What the fuck does that mean?
What does that mean? So,
because Steve was just like,
So like there's a set of 6, which means
set of 6 what?
6 plays.
Okay.
It's the NFL. It's not like NFL though. So NFL you do
like downs, 4 downs.
Yeah, 4 downs. Yeah, you get downs and you get to stop, huddle up. It's not like that. It is run into a brick wall pretty much. Or just run, boom, get tacked, get a fork, try and quickly play the ball, and you're on. Pass it to the person. So the six plays would be
consecutive.
Would be less than a minute. So so then I would have a hit up. Someone else would have a hit up, and then I would have a hit up straight up. So I'd run, boom, get tackled, play the ball. Someone would do that, and then within probably 10 seconds, I'm like, you give me another run. So I did that multiple times. I would do that. I'm not. Yeah, especially this is something that I talk about. Some of my teammates back in the day are going to hate me for this, but anyway, I would always have the hit-ups, which means just running the ball, on our try line. So getting your ball out of our try line was very easy to get the ball. Once you start getting closer to their try line or their goal line, what do you call a goal line? End zone. Once you get to the end zone, everyone wants the ball. I can get a touchdown here, you know what I mean? So everyone wants the ball. I could barely ever get the ball there, but on our end, everyone would just let me walk straight in front of them. So I would, and I was okay with that. I was, even back then, the mindset I had, the mentality I had was, like, even though it's a team sport, I felt like it was my duty to get us the fuck out of our try line. Are we allowed to swear? Sorry.
Yeah.
So I need to get us out of there. So I'll be like, I'll push people out of the way and they'll be like, oh, okay, sweet. And then I'll go and give me another hit up and I'll just get us out of there. Because I didn't look at it as, oh no, I need to run in front of this bloke. I'm going to need to run into a brick wall against guys that are twice the size. I didn't ever look at it that way. I looked at it as, we need to get out of here. So how do I do that? Give me the ball and I'm going to try and do that with a quick play the ball. I just look at what needed to be done, not at the actual,
Yeah. Steve, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How jealous are you of Volk's ears?
I love it.
I love it. Yeah, Steve's been trying to
love
get
it.
cauliflower ear for a long time now.
Didn't someone hit it?
Chuck Liddell, Ronda
Chuck Liddell
Rousey,
did it. That's it. I was talking to someone about it today.
Jorge Masvidal and John Jones all.
And you still haven't got it. Yeah.
Right.
And that's just from the whacking with him, isn't it?
You'll see it all tonight at the Bucket List show. Let me ask you this. Hypothetically,
So you're going to try and do it again?
I think I'm past it. I think I
I was going to say, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind trying. Give me a shot. Because I'm past that. No more. Yeah. Fair enough. I don't blame you.
My ear got blasted apart with a hammer by John Jones.
So it just ripped apart.
It just blasted open like.
How would you do
so
it?
There you go. So
I don't know where
So
to
that's
take
why.
it.
That's why you're not going to get the cauliflower though.
Yeah.
Because it bursted right open, all that fluid
Right.
got out.
Right.
So what you would do, have you ever got it to blow up?
Or
just
just barely did with Chuck Liddell
Yeah, barely.
at his
did.
house.
Okay, so
We can talk about it after the show tonight. Like, maybe what we did wasn't very effective. But
Maybe it takes the pound for pound chip. Maybe he's the
Yeah.
real one. If he can do it, John Jones can't.
I break down everything, you know what I mean? There's a science to everything I do. So, I'm going to make it
After
work.
we can maybe get the cammers rolling after the show.
Let's talk
He's like,
about
far
it.
out, what do we do here?
Let's talk about it after the show tonight. I'm very open to it. But what I want to know, and hypothetically, if you were to switch back to rugby, you're done with fighting. Now you're going to become a professional rugby player again. Like, how would you approach your physique? Would you want to put on as much weight as you had before, or would you feel more effective being lighter?
I was like we talked about. I was heavier, but I mean it was a lot of excess weight, like fat and stuff like that as well. I'd definitely rather. I don't mind being a bit heavy if I was playing football. You're saying?
Yeah,
Is that what
playing
you're saying?
rugby. Yeah.
Yeah, playing rugby. I would definitely want to be heavier because you're going to need that weight. But I mean, I wouldn't want to be as
Chunky.
as chunky as I was. I definitely could do with a little bit less fat and bulk.
Maybe be the size you are, but play a different position.
Maybe play. But I mean, that position was me. You know what I mean? Like that's what I played well. Even when I started losing weight, because my last year of football, I ended up having a couple of fights. So that was me getting down to middleweight.
Yeah.
So I used to be 214 pounds, and then I was fighting at 185.
Right.
So I bring that weight down. But so they put me in a different position, and then ended up just putting me, even though I was lighter, they just put me back into that position because that's just what I played well. So for me, I think that's just the best position for me. Maybe I could have been that position's called a hooker. Maybe I could have played hooker. Actually, Bo wouldn't be happy. That was his position. But yeah, so that was a position. Maybe I probably got the right build for something like that. But I mean, my position was always front row.
Do you have to worry about CTE in rugby?
I think so.
I mean, do they hit their head a lot more in American football or rugby?
Man, you are allowed to contact the head, right? Like you see people dive with their head and stuff like with their helmet.
That's not
and
the
all
case
that.
in rugby.
No. So we're not allowed to make contact. Like you were trying to avoid the head contact.
Right.
So now it's like back in the day it was a lot worse. So if you hit the chest and they come up and took the head, like it was okay. Where now you make any contact to the head, it's a penalty. So it's the contact on the heads. They're definitely taking care of that. And I think a lot of people are probably upset with it because it slows down the game. And obviously a lot of it was accident, but they're just trying to take care of the athletes, which is fair enough.
Sure.
You got to look at it that way.
Now, I feel like you're not a particularly flashy guy. Like with all the money coming in, the percentage participation in the pay-per-view profits, like, do you have like what's your most extravagant luxury spending?
Yeah, you're right. I'm not crazy. I mean, I just love my holidays with the family, really.
Okay.
And they're expensive, so with the kids. But probably that, man. Like, cause I'm a pretty relaxed, chill dude, man. Like, I'm just
right.
I will get I do have I've got myself a Rolex watch. That's probably the most I've ever spent on myself, which is obviously not cheap. But I don't usually do that. Like, I'm a chill dude. Just before a couple of hours ago, I grabbed a fishing rod, went down to the lake where I live by myself and got some prawns and then chucked a line in and went fishing by myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people in my position probably wouldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
They probably go, yeah, that's just who I am. So I'm the same guy I was 12 years ago, and I say that all the time. And people that know me will agree with that. You know what I mean? Not much has changed, which I'm proud of. But yeah, for me, yeah, maybe holidays. You know, spending money on holidays would be, especially when everything's last minute. Like, and if you plan ahead, holidays can be much cheaper. But we never plan ahead, so we plan last minute when the flights are quadruple. And everything's just through the roof. But that's the easiest way to do it for us. But yeah, I'd have to say that's what it is, which I'm happy that's what we do.
For Americans, holiday would be vacation.
Vacation, okay, vacation.
We consider holiday like a certain day of the year, like Christmas or
Yeah,
Easter.
okay,
That's
everyone around the world says holiday except for Americans.
Right.
It's like the metric system in the pounds. It's like we're the only people that do certain
vacations.
shit.
Well, what kind of car do you drive?
Car, I've got, it's second hand though, so I've got a Jaguar. So I've got a F-Type, so F-Type Jaguar, which I wanted just a smaller sports car. I was like, get from A to B. I like the look of it.
Yeah.
So I did, to be honest, but I didn't spend too much on that. But I mean, yeah, maybe the car and the watch is the most I've probably spent on myself.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
I don't go too crazy.
I understand you cook.
I do, yeah.
We're going to do some cooking for Steve.
I love some cooking, yeah, for sure.
And this a cooking show that you have on YouTube.
It is on YouTube, yeah.
And are we going to cook here?
Yeah, so I do two of them. So a lot of times I do my own cooking. So it's cooking with Volk.
Okay.
Or it's me eating. So I call that bulking with Volk. Okay. So yeah. So we're probably just going to do a bit of bulking with Volk. So what I wanted to do, I was talking to the guys here at Bayside Cafe that the chefs are going to make us, because I got this wrong too. Are they allowed to say that you eat fish? People are aware of it?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah.
I called it. I didn't even know. I'll be honest. I didn't even know what it was called. So I called it a pestarian. Pestarian. I go, he's a pestarian. They started laughing at me. So it was a pest. Yeah. So I was aware of that. So I was like, all right, we'll make some cool things. And I wanted to get your hot sauce involved.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of things that I try to, keep secret.
Okay, it's a good point. Yeah, I was going to say it wouldn't be, but I mean,
right.
I didn't want to break the news to the world.
It's all good. It's all good.
I didn't think so. I thought I'd say that.
Out of curiosity, how quickly would you turn around this cooking show? Because it would be great if we put them up at the same time and drove traffic from this podcast to your cooking show.
Oh no, we could just
What day is it today?
But we're gonna put this thing up this week.
Well, it's Tuesday today, right?
In Australia, it's gonna go up on Friday. In America, it's gonna go up on Thursday.
Yeah, you guys think you could turn around that quick?
Oh well, it's up. Like, we'll turn around whenever you want. Really, yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, it'll be up.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so people can go to.
Well, we'll let everybody know right now to. Click here.
Yeah, click there.
Yeah.
This way or this way. In Australia, it's the opposite.
This will be up first. So yeah. Click on that. That'll be good.
I'll do no outro this week. Just click that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Have you noticed that the toilet's spin different direction in Australia? Is that true?
Oh,
You don't know they spin counterclockwise?
Yeah, I want to know if that's a legit thing. Surely it's not, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing.
It could be a thing.
You want to have a look? We can go check now if you want.
Yeah. but hey, Volk, thank you so much.
No worries,
for this,
man.
Dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's been
like
an honor, man.
Massive fan, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, cool.